Welcome to a world where architecture doesn't shout, it whispers. Today we explore the concept of timber, light, and linen, architecture that breathes. This is more than a design trend, it's a lifestyle, one where elegance meets restraint, where space meets soul, and where every material is chosen to serve beauty, comfort, and clarity. Warm minimalist luxury is not about removing, it's about revealing. It's about peeling away the unnecessary to uncover the essential. And in that process, something magical happens. The architecture begins to breathe. This kind of simplicity isn't cold. It's organic, human, and quietly radiant. Timber is more than just a material. It's an emotional connector. It carries the weight of tradition and the warmth of nature. In minimalist luxury, timber becomes the heartbeat of the space, used not just for structure, but for storytelling. Every grain, every knot is a signature of authenticity. Natural light is the architecture's best friend. It floods through open spaces and dances across textures. It softens hard lines and invites a sense of calm. In this kind of home, light is not just seen, it's felt. It guides movement, lifts mood, and amplifies design with subtle power. Linen is where warmth and refinement meet. Its gentle folds, matte finish, and tactile comfort add a human layer to a space defined by restraint. It plays a vital role in softening the visual language, curtains, upholstery, throws, all contributing to an atmosphere that's grounded yet elevated. This architecture doesn't fill every corner with furniture or ornamentation. Instead, it embraces negative space, allowing air and imagination to flow. The emptiness isn't empty, it's full of intention. Every decision serves clarity, and every absence reveals presence. Materials are drawn from the earth and placed with grace. Timber, stone, and linen create a palette that reflects the landscape. These aren't flashy or trendy elements, they're timeless. And together, they produce a visual rhythm that feels rooted, authentic, and deeply elegant. This isn't the cold minimalism of blank white boxes. It's warm, lived in. It has soul. By using natural materials, warm tones, and intentional design, this approach gives minimalism a heartbeat, making it accessible, emotional, and inviting. Geometry in these spaces is carefully considered. Lines aren't just functional, they guide you. Whether it's the clean silhouette of a staircase or the perfectly aligned beams on a ceiling, every line invites your eye to move, to explore, and to experience. The color palette is restrained but never boring. It leans into soft neutrals, sands, stones, and earthy browns. These tones evoke calm and stability. They're the backdrop to your life, allowing objects, people, and light to take center stage. In homes like this, nothing is accidental. Every fixture, joint, and seam is placed with intention. The architecture becomes a form of craftsmanship. It's where builders and designers work like artists, creating not just homes but experiences. Furniture is functional but sculptural. It's sparse but impactful. Pieces are chosen for longevity, comfort, and beauty. The mantra here is less but better. Quality replaces quantity, and the result is a sense of spaciousness that fosters peace and presence. Open-plan living is reimagined here, not as a void, but as a flowing, breathable ecosystem. Spaces transition naturally from one to another. Living becomes fluid. The home adapts to its user, not the other way around. Windows are not just for viewing the outside. They're invitations to nature. Timber-framed vistas frame the outdoors like artwork. Plants and textures reflect the surroundings, creating a dialogue between interior and exterior. Nature isn't adjacent, it's integrated. In this home, luxury isn't glossy. It's tactile. It's the feel of oiled wood under your fingers, the softness of linen against your skin, the gentle give of a woven rug beneath your feet. It's a sensory experience rooted in honesty and detail. Timber evolves. It ages. It marks time. Scratches and knots become part of the narrative. Unlike synthetic materials, it tells a story, a biography of use and care. Every year, the wood gains more soul. It becomes part of the family. Luxury is often defined by abundance, but here it's defined by discipline. By choosing to include only what matters most, this design elevates every choice. Restraint becomes a kind of refinement. Silence becomes a form of sound. Warm minimalist luxury isn't about aesthetic alone. It's about presence. A home like this invites you to slow down, to be, to breathe. It clears away distractions so that life itself can come into sharper focus. It's architecture for mindfulness. Smooth concrete, rough linen, honed timber. These surfaces aren't silent. They communicate. They create contrast. They balance each other. Together, they form a silent symphony that enriches the everyday experience. This kind of home doesn't chase design trends. Instead, it draws from a deeper well, one of timeless principles: balance, proportion, harmony, and light. The result is a space that will look and feel relevant for generations. Layered lighting is key. Daylight is maximized. But as the sun sets, soft ambient lighting takes over, diffused through linen shades or reflected off timber walls. There's no glare here, just glow. A quiet intimacy emerges. In a world full of imitations, this home is honest. Wood is wood. Linen is linen. Stone is stone. There's no disguising materials. Instead, they're celebrated for their imperfections and individuality, because true beauty doesn't need to pretend. This architecture is responsive. It considers how people move, how they cook, rest, gather, and dream. The layout encourages rituals. It supports solitude and community alike. It's a partner in your lifestyle, not just a backdrop. Good architecture speaks. Great architecture listens. It listens to the climate, the light, the seasons. It adapts. A warm minimalist house doesn't impose itself. It harmonizes with its surroundings and its inhabitants. This style carries echoes of Japanese wabi-sabi and Scandinavian hygge. It blends simplicity with softness, precision with poetry. The result is a cultural fusion that feels both global and deeply personal. This home isn't just designed for now. It's built to endure, both physically and emotionally. Durable materials and timeless design principles ensure it will remain beautiful and functional for decades to come. There's a weightlessness to this space, not in structure but in spirit. It lifts burdens, calms nerves. It gives you room to think, feel, and be. This is the true luxury lightness of being housed in form. Architecture has the power to heal. Through proportion, light, and tactility, this home becomes a space of restoration. It reduces anxiety, promotes well-being. It gives its residents the feeling of home in the deepest sense. This is not static design. It's living architecture. It evolves with the user. It changes with the sun. It breathes with the seasons. It welcomes imperfection. It tells stories. And in doing so, it becomes more than shelter. It becomes soul space. Timber, light, and linen. Architecture that breathes is more than a design. It's a philosophy. It's about honoring nature, embracing restraint, and creating space for what truly matters. In a world of noise, this is architecture that whispers, that breathes, that brings us home.